All right, I went ahead and in part one we went over this engine and decided that it's just best just to tear it down completely, given some of the things that we found. First part I'm going to do to remove this or to tear it down, is we're going to remove the muffler. We need to remove the clamps, which are 1/2 inch, and there are 2 bolts that hold on the muffler itself underneath the engine. Easiest way to do that probably is to first remove the clamps. You don't have to take them all the way off. You just gotta make them loose, even though evidently I took one off. For simplicity, I'm gonna go ahead and put it back on there. And then those are 1/2 inch, and then you need a 9/16 to remove the muffler mount. Now you should be able, being keyword, go ahead and remove the muffler. Just takes a little bit. So there we go. We've got a muffler. What I like to do is this PTO mount still in here. I'm just going to go ahead and put these bolts back in here for just a few minutes until I take this adapter plate off that holds the PTO. So now what I can do is, aside from getting the engine a little bit better footing here, now I'm going to take off each one of the exhaust ports, or the exhaust pipes. These are 1/2 inch or 7/16? 1/2 inch. So these are 1/2 inch. Because I'm disassembling it, I don't really care how much crap goes on in there. There's one. Ooh. I'll show you down there in just a second. We are clearly making the right decision in this case. All right, so let's look down in here. My hand's clean enough that I can handle the camera. You can see down in there how nasty that is. And I didn't put it in there, so I'm wondering if this valve right here even moves. Let's turn the engine over and see if it does. Oh, it does. Okay, so it does move. Next, what we're going to do is go ahead and take the intake off. 1/2 inch again. Chances of this hose actually coming off is slim to none, so we'll just cut it. And then we can lift this up and out. So there's our intake. Now, because this is a B43, when you look down in the venturi of the carburetor, it should say, let me see if you can see it down in there. In the venturi of the carburetor, basically right up here, it should say 238. That's what it should say. So I don't know if you can see that, but that's 238. I've gone over that in previous videos. So there's that. This looks like a governor spring. And so now we have a little bit more access to the top of the engine. I'm going to go ahead and get some stuff cleaned up here. I'm going to go ahead and take off the breather. I'll probably take off the valve covers, and then we can come back and look at the valves, etc. And then we probably I'll wait to take the starter off until I have the flywheel off. Just makes it a little bit easier. The flywheel should be pretty easy to remove, so we'll do that here in just a little bit. So I'm gonna work on that, and I'll come back and see what kind of progress we're making. All right, let's get this flywheel off. To get the flywheel off this engine, you're gonna need a 5/8. I would highly recommend an impact. If you don't have an impact, what's gonna happen is it's gonna wanna turn, and you're gonna need to put a bolt in the front. So we're gonna go ahead and use an impact here. Like I said, it's 5/8, and this, you need to leave this bolt in there because it actually has a space for the puller. Now, in this particular case, I was fortunate enough, and you may have seen in other videos, I actually have an Onan puller. This is made by OTC. It comes in as a kit for servicing these engines. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this back in slightly. And then I'm going to go ahead and hook the puller up. Dropping the parts naturally. Any puller will do. So you don't have to have the Onan puller. I've just been fortunate enough over the years to find a tool set. And I'll take, when I get this done, I'll turn the camera around and we can look at everything. So the problem is every now and then this wants to, the bolt always wants to rotate in. I think that's the problem I'm having now. So every now and then you just got to go ahead and remove the bolt. Sometimes it works fine, sometimes it doesn't. It's one of those 6 of one, half dozen the other. Really depends on who's doing the work. It works better if you leave it in, because then that captures the flywheel. And you want to capture the flywheel. You don't want the flywheel flying off and going somewhere. Oh, I did break it loose. I thought I broke it loose. There we go. Okay, so I did break it loose with the bolt end. I didn't think I had, and I should have pulled on it. That's my fault. All right, so pretty typical. Stator covered in grease and grime. One thing that concerns me is the fact that the stator has, looks like the magnets have been touching, or there's been, well, not the magnets have been touching. It looks like there's been grime in between, dirt and whatnot in between the stator and the magnets on the flywheel. We'll turn the flywheel over here in just a second and we'll see if that's true. So here is that Onan kit. This is actually for a wheel horse, but like I said, it's made by OTC, and you can see the wheel horse label down there. But it basically has all the seal drivers, seal pullers. So it's a wheel horse service toolkit, Onan Industrial Engines, and made by OTC Tool and Equipment in Owatonna, Minnesota. The only thing, this is not correct, but this kit didn't have it. But yeah, you got all your seal drivers and everything you need. These are for pulling the cam gear. We'll use those later. So yeah, all kinds of stuff like that. Good stuff for sure. All right, so next thing I need to do is I'm going to go ahead and pull the stator off, which should just be three. Should be just 3 screws. Like I said, I don't know if the stator is going to be any good or worth saving. All right, so let's flip the flywheel over. Actually, it doesn't look too bad for that stator. It's just grime, so maybe the stator is okay. Did not expect that, but looking like it's just fine. So now we'll just go ahead, you pull that off the timing cover. Got this wrapped around here, and then you can go ahead and there's just a metal tab right here that holds a stator wire in. Go ahead and release all this like that, and there is our stator. I'm guessing that this is a replacement stator based on, I've never seen a stator with this long of a lead on it. Particularly pressed up against the thing. So my guess is this is a replacement stator. It seems a little bit larger, plus it's got some green on it. Most of the ones I've seen are red. That doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, everything I've seen is 100% correct. So, all right, next order of business is we really need to go ahead and get the starter off. So here's that starter, what started this whole thing. Let me make sure you can see it. So the starter bolts are right here. That's why I say it's helpful to remove the flywheel. That's why I also said I couldn't remember if you had to remove the flywheel at the start of this series. Well, fine then. We'll do it a different way. So this is a starter that hooks to the oil, or attaches to the oil pan. On the P series engines, the starter attaches to 2 lugs that are on the bottom of the cylinder. The only problem is once those lugs break, the starter has nowhere to attach, and so you either have to have the block welded, which oftentimes misaligns the starter with the rest of the engine, or a cheaper option is to replace the oil pan, which is what a lot of folks do, is just replace the oil pan. And so, because the oil pan on the B series engine has these 2 tabs on it that you can mount a B series starter to, or a Bendix style starter instead of a solenoid shift starter. Now in this particular case, this starter's junk. It's extended and it won't go back in. So I mean, I don't think that there's nothing that we can do there. So that starter is going to go in the trash. It doesn't look maybe it is an Onan starter. I'll have to clean it up a little bit to see if it's an Onan starter. But so that's pretty much the end of that starter right there. Next thing we need to do is I'm going to go ahead and pull, now that I have the flywheel off, I'm going to pull the oil filter off of it. And after the oil filter, oil filter housing, that whole assembly right there. And then I need to pull the PTO adapter, and then I'll probably go ahead and drop the oil pan and start working on getting the crankshaft and the pistons out. And then the last thing I'll do is remove the valve covers and take the valves and the camshaft out. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go ahead and simply take this PTO cover off and do a couple other things off camera, because you don't necessarily need to see me do that. And I mean, this is just a recreation of the video where I rebuilt the B43 series, oh gosh, probably 6 years ago now, 7 years ago, something like that, I guess 7. So, I mean, this is not necessarily a new thing on the channel, but I'm having fun doing this. I really enjoy tearing in these engines and see what they tell you. Like this stator here, it really looks like that stator's been replaced at some point in the past. And so anyway, let's see what kind of usable parts we can get out of this thing, and we will go from there. All right, well, as per usual, I forgot to drain the oil out of it, so that's always a good time. Now I'm going to see how exactly oily I can get the bench. I don't know why I always forget to do that, but it's something that I just forget to do. So this machine did not have a normal side oil drain like most Deere Onans do. I don't know if that was a function of the engine itself or what. So I got the PTO adapter off. I'm actually going to hold off doing this oil filter until I get the oil pan off. I want to go ahead and see the internals, because if the internals are just junk, I'm just going to throw the whole thing in the scrap heap. So, and based on some of the things I'm seeing here, and the amount of carbon and the amount of rust down in the intakes and the exhaust ports, I'm concerned there's actually rust inside the engine, which I'm not going to be excited about. And at the same time, I'm trying to protect this, our wonderful, whatever you want to call it over here, Gorilla Glue. So I'm going to see if I can get our drain plug back in the oil pan here. That oil is extremely cold. This isn't the worst Onan I've ever taken apart. That has to do, I think the worst one I've ever taken apart was probably the second or third one that I ever took apart. What a disaster. I bet you there was 25 pounds of grease on that thing. Easy 25 pounds. All right. Dip my hand in oil there, but we got it. So now I can take the engine off of this pan and dispose of the pan so I'm not dripping oil all over myself. And now we can take the oil pan off. And so how you take the oil pan off these engines, you basically tilt them up, and you're going to make a mess in some form or fashion, almost guaranteed. In the past, so one thing you should be concerned about is, so there's going to be oil in this timing cover right here, and it's going to drain down in the oil pan. So the order at which you take these two off really doesn't matter per se. I've always been a fan of taking the oil pan off first. And that's just 4 bolts with 9/16 inch heads on them. Like I said, it's going to make a mess. That's just a fact. So I've got my pan here. It's already dirty from various other things. And I need my 9/16 inch socket. Okay, now, sometimes the oil pan just comes off, other times you gotta go get a hammer. Sounds like I need, or feels like I need a hammer this time. Maybe. I did remember, there's only 4 bolts, right? Oh, there we go. And I broke my hammer. I made that hammer many, many years ago. There we go. Got our oil pan off. Let's see, is there anything in the bottom? Shockingly not. There's not even that much crud in the bottom. So let's look at these engine internals. So what am I seeing up close first? Looks like it's got older style rods in it, so probably hasn't been rebuilt, based on what I'm seeing. So that's a good sign. There is what appears to be rust on the cylinder walls. We'll go ahead and take this piston out real quick and see what's in there. There definitely appears to be some rust. Now we have to remember this block is aluminum, and it's just and the rods are aluminum. The crankshaft and the cylinder bores are steel. Journals have a little bit of wear on them, but nothing nothing that's screaming at me. That's for sure. All right. Well, that was insanely easy. All right, what do we got? So this is the better of the two pistons. Honestly, I don't see too much wrong with these pistons. I mean, obviously we can, rings aren't stuck. A little bit of wear there, but there's not even much scoring up around the top. Bearing looks good. The journal or the bearing looks good. Put it back together for the time being. We'll get the other one out. Because in the cylinder, maybe this engine's not as bad as I thought. I mean, there's definitely a line that you can feel at the bottom of the cylinder, but it's not terrible. So let's see here. Let's see if we can get the other piston out. I have to wash all my tools after this. So it's beneficial to take the timing cover off because you wouldn't have to work around this oil pump. But right now I'm not too concerned with that. I am very encouraged with what I'm seeing though. If you like these longer videos, I don't mind making them. The biggest thing is they just take a little bit longer to upload. And they don't necessarily get some of the editing. That journal looks good. See if we can get it out of there. And let's look at this one. This one's got a little bit more wear, but oh, maybe a little scoring right there. Have to clean that up and see if it comes out. So this one's got a little bit of scoring right there, but it still looks like a pretty decent used piston. This one doesn't have any scoring at all. The rotation as it came out, this was basically up towards the valves. And my guess is just some carbon and stuff started falling on the valves and got in there, and that's what was causing that scoring around the edges. And this was the bottom right there, but overall this piston doesn't look terrible. Definitely looks like something we could keep and keep on the shelf and stuff. All right, so I think that is, given the time, I think that's actually where I'm going to stop for the evening. And that's, I think, where I'm going to stop this video. When we come back, I guess the next episode, we will take the timing cover off, pull the cam gear, and take the crankshaft out, and we'll see if we can go ahead and remove the the valves and the camshaft. So plus that gives it some time just to sit there and drip. So yeah, thanks for watching. If you got some questions, comments, leave them below. If you need some parts, let me know. I don't know if I'm going to part this engine out or not, but looks like we've got some decent parts. Look like we don't have, our block is okay. Obviously we don't have a starter. And so we'll see if, maybe this is the engine I'll rebuild. I don't know. Like I said, I'd prefer to rebuild a P series compared to a B series. But I don't know what I'll do. So thanks for watching.